When nurse and single mother Lauren Mitchell reached her breaking point at a Christmas dinner filled with passive-aggressive barbs and silent dismissals, she issued an ultimatum that shattered her family's long-held illusions. What followed wasn't a rupture. It was a reckoning. In the wake of that stormy evening, Lauren, her daughter Harper, and the rest of the Mitchell clan are forced to confront painful truths, rebuild broken trust, and discover that real love begins where pretense ends. This is a story about choosing authenticity over approval, courage over comfort, and the power of setting boundaries that don't break a family, but finally make it whole. The house was quiet, far too quiet for a Christmas morning. No laughter, no rustle of wrapping paper, no familiar hum of cinnamon and pine. Lauren Mitchell stood at the kitchen counter of her modest two-bedroom apartment in Portland, her hands wrapped around a steaming mug of coffee, eyes staring blankly at the window, frosted with early morning condensation. Behind her, her 17-year-old daughter Harper was asleep, or pretending to be, nestled under a blanket on the couch where she had insisted on staying up watching old holiday movies. Lauren couldn't blame her. This was the first Christmas. They had decided not to go to her parents' house. It wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. It had taken years of quiet erosion, of small slights that slowly formed into deep wounds. Holidays that felt more like performances than celebrations. Conversations laced with passive aggression. Harper is being compared to her cousins, Ethan, and Zoe, who could do no wrong in the eyes of Eleanor and Charles Mitchell. Her parents. Lauren had spent the better part of Harper's life trying to navigate that world, trying to balance the desire for familial connection with the reality of constant invalidation. Eleanor, her mother, was a perfectionist who believed emotions were best left bottled up or brushed aside with polite smiles. Charles, her father, was kind but passive, always defaulting to silence when things got uncomfortable. And then there was Amanda, Lauren's younger sister, whose children were the golden examples, and whose carefully curated life always seemed to eclipse Lauren's by comparison. But last year, something had snapped. Christmas Eve, 2023. The moment was seared into Lauren's mind. Harper had been showing her grandparents a portfolio of black and white photographs she had taken for an advanced placement class, portraits of everyday life, raw and expressive, filled with emotion. Eleanor had flipped through them with pursed lips before sighing. "Don't you think you should focus on more practical things, dear? Photography's fine as a hobby, but what about pre-law? Like your cousin Ethan?" The silence that followed had been deafening. Harper's face had gone red, her hands trembling as she took the photos back without a word. Lauren remembered the weight of that moment, how her anger rose like a tide, but years of conditioned deference had kept her mouth shut. Until later, when Harper had gone to bed, silent and withdrawn, and Lauren had quietly confronted her parents. They dismissed it, of course. "You're too sensitive. We were just offering guidance." Amanda's kids don't seem to have a problem with a little feedback, but Lauren wasn't asking for a debate. She was done. She had left early the next morning with Harper, driving through the snowy streets in silence. That ride home was when the decision was made. "No more," she had whispered, almost to herself. "No more," Harper had echoed. This year, Lauren had sent an email a week before Christmas. Polite. Firm. "We're spending the holiday at home this year. I hope you understand. This isn't permanent, but things need to change. Harper and I deserve to feel safe, respected, and supported. Until that becomes possible, we'll be here." The response had been what she expected. Amanda sent a passive-aggressive text. "I hope Harper doesn't think we're the enemy. Family means showing up, even when things aren't perfect." Eleanor called once, left a voicemail filled with wounded confusion. "I don't know what we did that was so unforgivable, Lauren. You're exaggerating." Charles didn't say anything at all. And so on Christmas morning, Lauren stood at the window of her apartment, the silence both a comfort and a sorrow. Harper stirred behind her. "Is it weird that I don't miss it?" Lauren turned. "No, it's not weird." Harper sat up, rubbing her eyes. "This feels real, not fake happy." Lauren smiled. "It is real. were allowed to have peace. They exchanged gifts over pancakes and peppermint hot chocolate, laughing when Harper's secondhand film camera jammed for the third time. They watched Harper's favorite childhood movies. They walked through the park, bundled in scarves and boots, snapping pictures of snow-covered trees and quiet streets. It wasn't the holiday Lauren had grown up with. It was better. 2 days later, the phone rang. This time it was Charles. "Hey, kiddo." Lauren almost didn't answer, but she did. "Hi, Dad. I got your email. I've been thinking about it." There was a long pause. "I think you're right." Lauren sat down. "About what?" "About the way things have been. About Harper. About all of it." She didn't say anything. She let him talk. "I've been quiet too long. Your mother means well, but she doesn't always see what she's doing. And Amanda, well, she's always been competitive. But that doesn't excuse how Harper's been treated." Lauren swallowed hard. "Thank you. I'd like to talk. More. Maybe with Harper too. No pressure, just when you're ready." That night, Lauren told Harper about the call. "He said that?" She nodded. Harper stared at her hands. "Do you think it could change?" "I think it's possible, but it has to be on our terms." Harper thought for a long time before she answered. "I'm not ready to forgive, but I'd be willing to listen." Lauren felt a cautious hope rise in her chest. Maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something new. The days following Christmas were filled with a mix of quiet tension and cautious hope. The apartment that Lauren Mitchell shared with her daughter Harper felt like a sanctuary, one they had both earned through courage and confrontation. The silence in their modest home was not oppressive. It was peaceful, finally unburdened by years of guilt and the invisible weight of unmet expectations. Lauren kept herself busy with her work at the hospital. Being an ER nurse required her full attention, and though the hours were long, she welcomed the distraction. Still, her mind often drifted back to the conversation that changed everything. Harper had been unusually quiet the first few days after the confrontation with Eleanor. She spent hours in her room, headphones on, sorting through photographs she had taken over the past year. Lauren let her be, understanding that Harper was processing in her way. But it was during one quiet Sunday afternoon, as rain tapped softly on the windows, that Harper finally spoke up. "Do you think they'll change?" she asked without looking up. From her laptop, Lauren, who was curled up with a mug of tea and a medical journal, took a moment before answering. "I think they can. But whether they will, that's up to them. Change isn't easy. But we made our expectations clear. That's a start." Harper closed her laptop and looked at her mother. "I'm glad we left. I feel like I can breathe again." Lauren smiled, her heart tightening with emotion. "Me too." In the weeks that followed, something began to shift. A message came from Amanda first, a surprisingly thoughtful one. She apologized for her behavior, for the comparisons, and for not stepping in when things got out of hand. She asked if she could visit, just for coffee, just to talk. Lauren was skeptical but agreed. Harper was less enthusiastic, but she respected her mother's decision. Amanda arrived with a nervous smile and a box of Harper's favorite pastries. She looked around the apartment and complimented the space genuinely, even admiring Harper's photographs on the walls. The conversation that followed was awkward at first, but eventually Amanda opened up. "I was jealous," she admitted, "of your independence, of how close you and Harper are. I was too wrapped up in keeping up appearances to notice how toxic it all had become." Lauren appreciated the honesty. "It's not about being perfect. It's about showing up and doing better," Amanda nodded. "I want to do better. I want Zoe to grow up knowing that kindness matters more than competition." It was a start. A few days later, Harper received an unexpected email from her grandfather. He apologized for not standing up for her and for prioritizing peace over fairness. He asked if she'd like help setting up a proper darkroom in the apartment closet. Harper showed Lauren the message with cautious eyes. "What do you think?" Lauren didn't answer right away. "What do you want?" Harper bit her lip, then shrugged. "I think I want to give him a chance." And so, one weekend, Robert Mitchell arrived with tools, paint, and shelves. He and Harper spent the better part of 2 days transforming the closet into a fully functional darkroom. Lauren watched from the kitchen, touched by the way her father listened to Harper's instructions, asked questions, and genuinely engaged. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Eleanor, predictably, was the last to reach out. Lauren received a formal-sounding voicemail followed by a carefully worded text. "I've been thinking. I'd like to speak when you're ready." Lauren didn't reply right away. When she finally did, she set clear terms. Any conversation would happen in public, and Harper wouldn't be involved until trust was rebuilt. Their meeting took place at a quiet cafe near the hospital. Eleanor arrived wearing the same designer coat she always wore to Sunday brunch. Her makeup was flawless, but her eyes were tired. "I wanted to see you in person to say I'm sorry," she began, uncharacteristically direct. Lauren said nothing. Waiting. "I was wrong," Eleanor continued. "About many things, about how I treated you, and especially Harper. I've been talking with Amanda. I didn't realize how much I hurt both of you." "You didn't want to realize," Lauren replied. Eleanor's eyes flickered, but she didn't argue. "You're right." There was a long silence. "I don't expect you to forgive me overnight. I hope we can start over." Lauren nodded slowly. "Starting over means new rules, new boundaries." Eleanor nodded in return. "I'm willing to try." Over the next month, small changes accumulated. Eleanor visited the apartment for the first time. She made awkward comments about the size, but she also brought Harper a gift, a photography book signed by the author. She asked questions, genuine ones, about Harper's work. At work, Lauren began noticing changes in herself too. She advocated more confidently for her schedule, requested time off without apology, and even began mentoring a new nurse. Her colleague Meredith noticed. "Whatever happened over the holidays," Meredith said one night during a break, "it changed you. You seem lighter." "I feel lighter," Lauren said with a small laugh. "Setting boundaries is surprisingly freeing." "Speaking of changes," Meredith added with a sly grin, "Dr. Pierce has been asking if you're free for coffee sometime." Lauren blinked. "Nathan Pierce?" Meredith raised an eyebrow. "Yes, Nathan. Tall, dark, absurdly respectful." Lauren laughed. "Maybe." That night, when she mentioned it to Harper, her daughter nearly jumped off the couch. "Finally," she exclaimed. "He's been giving you hard eyes for months." Lauren rolled her eyes, amused. "Hard eyes?" Grandpa noticed too. "When he picked me up from the hospital, he asked if you two were dating." Lauren's cheeks flushed. "It's just coffee." Harper grinned. For now. By the time February rolled around, the family had scheduled a meeting at a local restaurant. Harper was wary but curious. Lauren was cautiously optimistic. Everyone showed up with written notes, an idea Robert had suggested to ensure everyone got a chance to speak without interruption. Even Eleanor had hers typed and printed, complete, with bullet points. They discussed expectations, communication styles, and the importance of respect. Harper, to everyone's surprise, asked to speak last. "When you compare me to Zoe or Ethan," she began, her voice steady, "it makes me feel like I'm not good enough, and I've spent too much time trying to change myself to fit what I think you want. I'm not doing that anymore." There was silence. Then Eleanor cleared her throat. "I understand," she said, surprising everyone. "And I'm sorry. I will try to do better." The meeting ended with hugs, not the performative kind, but genuine ones. Promises were made. Some would be broken, but the intent was there. As Lauren and Harper walked home that night, Harper looped her arm through her mother's. "Do you think this will last?" she asked. "I don't know," Lauren answered honestly. "But I think we're finally heading in the right direction." They passed a bookstore, pausing to look at a photography exhibit displayed in the window. "You should enter something," Lauren said. Harper smiled. "Maybe I will." And for the first time in a long time, maybe felt like enough. The last remnants of winter clung stubbornly to the edges of sidewalks, but inside Lauren Mitchell's apartment, warmth and change had started to take root. It was subtle, an increased lightness in conversation, fewer tense silences, and shared laughter that no longer felt strained. The Christmas ultimatum had done something Lauren hadn't dared to hope for. It cracked the carefully constructed facades within her family, allowing glimpses of real transformation. Harper, once so quiet and withdrawn, had started to flourish. The darkroom project with her grandfather had invigorated her creativity, and every weekend now carried the sound of laughter, soft jazz, or the rhythmic clicking of her camera shutter. Robert Mitchell, who used to nod passively through family drama, now called Harper just to talk. Sometimes they'd go for walks early in the morning, capturing the world before it fully awoke. Lauren had watched those interactions carefully. She didn't want to get ahead of herself. Trust, once broken, didn't repair overnight. But Robert seemed sincere, and more importantly, he seemed present. Eleanor's change was slower, but real. She started texting Harper photography articles and museum exhibit schedules. When Harper mentioned applying to a summer photojournalism camp, Eleanor offered to help her draft a statement of purpose. That single sentence, "I'd like to support you if you'll let me," carried more healing than years of well-meaning holiday gifts ever could. Lauren had approached each of these shifts with cautious optimism. She kept a journal now, not just to document her thoughts, but to remind herself of the progress. A line she'd written after their January family meeting stood out. "Don't mistake effort for perfection. Growth is messy." At the hospital, Meredith had noticed the change. In Lauren, too. Lauren smiled more, offered more input during staff meetings, and even caught herself joking with the night shift crew. But the biggest shift came in how she advocated for herself. When a new position opened for a charge nurse, Lauren hesitated. Her gut reaction was to step back, to assume someone more assertive would be chosen. But Harper's voice echoed in her mind. "If you don't believe in you, why should anyone else?" So she applied. 2 weeks later, she got the call. The promotion was hers. When she told Harper, the teen jumped up and down with excitement. "See? I told you. You're amazing." Lauren pulled her into a hug, her throat thick. "I'm proud of you too, you know. For being brave. For growing." Harper grinned. "We're a team." Their apartment, though still small, began to reflect their evolving lives. The living room wall now displayed a framed series of Harper's photographs, candid street shots, dramatic sunrises, and portraits that told entire stories with a glance. The centerpiece was a new family photo taken during Easter. Everyone smiling, not forced or posed, but genuinely content. Amanda's family had shifted too. Zoe and Harper had begun texting regularly, bonding over school and photography. The cousins had found common ground beyond their mother's strained history. Amanda, to her credit, had taken steps to course correct. She stopped comparing achievements and started asking questions. "How's Harper's portfolio coming?" she'd asked during one brunch. "Zoe's thinking of joining the yearbook staff. Harper might have some advice?" It was tentative, but it was a bridge. And then there was Nathan Pierce. The coffee date had turned into 3. Then dinner, then movie nights and quiet walks after long hospital shifts. He was respectful, attentive, and always mindful of Lauren's time with Harper. One Saturday morning, Lauren came into the kitchen to find Nathan and Harper hunched over a photography lighting kit. "She's teaching me the basics," Nathan said with a grin. "I'm just making sure he doesn't blind himself," Harper added, smirking. Lauren leaned against the doorway, watching them with a mixture of amusement and something deeper. Peace. Later that night, Harper remarked, "He gets it. He doesn't try too hard, but he tries just enough." Lauren nodded. That's what real feels like. In June, 6 months after that fateful Christmas, Lauren and Harper sat on their balcony sipping lemonade. Their small container garden, a project sparked by Robert's springtime visit, bloomed around them. "Grandpa wants to take me fishing next weekend," Harper said, scrolling through her camera. "Just the 2 of us." Lauren smiled. "That's your time." Harper nodded. "He said it's special. That it's just for me." A breeze rustled the string lights above them. "And Grandma?" Lauren asked gently. "She sent me a photography contest link before I even told her I was interested," Harper replied, showing her mother the message. "I think she's trying. Like, trying. Lauren looked at her daughter, who now carried herself with quiet confidence. You deserve that effort. Harper looked back at the sky, catching the last hues of sunset. I used to think being seen meant being praised, but now I know it just means someone really knows who you are and still shows up. Lauren reached over and took her hand. Exactly. The next day, Meredith teased Lauren in the staff break room. So, dinner with Dr. Pierce again? Lauren smiled. Nathan, and yes, he's making paella. Ooh, that's serious, Lauren laughed. We'll see. Back home, Harper raised an eyebrow when Lauren mentioned the paella. You like him, she said. Lauren blushed. I do, but you're still my number one, you know. I know, Harper replied, rolling her eyes with affection. But it's okay to be happy, Mom. You deserve this too. Lauren swallowed the lump in her throat. Thank you. That evening, Harper brought up college applications. I want to study photojournalism, she said confidently. To tell real stories, ones that make people feel something, Lauren beamed. Then that's what you'll do. As night fell and they lingered on the balcony, Harper turned to her mother. You remember when you said standing up to Grandma and Grandpa wasn't just about one dinner? Lauren nodded. I get it now. It was about teaching me how to stand up for myself, to expect better. Lauren squeezed her daughter's hand. That's the greatest thing I could have taught you. They sat in silence, surrounded by the glow of string lights and the hum of distant traffic. The scars from the past hadn't disappeared, but they had been acknowledged, tended to, and turned into something stronger. And that, Lauren realized, was the true miracle. Not perfection, but progress. Not fantasy, but real. The last frost of winter had melted into spring's soft bloom, and with it, the rigid patterns of the Mitchell family had slowly begun to thaw. Inside Lauren Mitchell's small but vibrant apartment, change didn't scream or shout. It unfolded quietly, like the unfurling of leaves or the slow emergence of trust. Lauren had always believed that boundaries were walls meant to shut people out. But in the months since Christmas, she'd learned they could also be bridges. With each difficult conversation, each held silence instead of reaction, each small effort from her family, a new kind of connection had formed. One built not on obligation or image, but respect. Harper had blossomed. She wasn't just participating in family functions now. She was shaping them. Her weekends with Robert had grown from tentative attempts at bonding to deeply cherished traditions. They fished, built frames for her photographs, and discussed photography like peers. He'd even started carrying a small camera himself, proudly showing off his clumsy but earnest snapshots. Eleanor, perhaps the most stubborn of them all, had begun to transform too. It wasn't always smooth. There were still slip-ups, backhanded comments, and lingering tension. But she now caught herself. She apologized. And more than that, she made gestures that mattered. Sending Harper photography contests, forwarding scholarships, and showing up at her first public showcase at the community center. Amanda's growth, though quieter, felt just as profound. She no longer weaponized comparisons or masked competition as a concern. Instead, she asked real questions, offered real support. Harper and Zoe had become actual friends, texting about school, helping each other with projects, and even planning a joint summer workshop. And Lauren? Lauren had stepped fully into her power. Her promotion to charge nurse had come with long hours, but she carried herself with a confidence born not of achievement, but self-worth. She no longer over-explained her requests or shrank in meetings. She knew what she brought to the table. Nathan had become a steady presence, not just a romantic interest, but a partner. He respected her boundaries, supported her relationship with Harper, and never forced his way in. Instead, he showed up patient, kind, and authentic. Harper had taken to calling him Chef Nate after a series of elaborate Sunday dinners. On a warm June evening, Lauren and Harper sat on their balcony sipping lemonade and watching the lights twinkle over the city skyline. The small garden they had started, an idea of Robert's, was lush with herbs and flowers. Grandpa called today, Harper said, her voice casual but happy. He wants to take me fishing next weekend. Lauren smiled. Your special time? Harper nodded. Yeah, he said Zoe might come next time, but this one's just us. He said he likes our talks. They sat in silence, the kind that only comes when everything you need to say has already been said. Later that night, as they prepared dinner with Nathan, Harper turned to Lauren with a look that was both playful and sincere. You like him, she said. Lauren paused, then smiled. I do. And he likes you. But more importantly, he sees you. Lauren felt her throat tighten with emotion. That's what matters most. After dinner, Harper shared news that made Lauren's heart swell. I've decided what I want. To study in college, Harper said. Oh? Photojournalism, she replied without hesitation. I want to tell stories, real ones, the kind that makes people feel something. Lauren reached across the table and squeezed her hand. Then, that's exactly what you'll do. As twilight deepened into night, Lauren reflected on how far they had come. That painful Christmas dinner, so raw, so messy, had been the turning point. Not a breakdown, but a breakthrough. And though their family still stumbled, they had learned to catch each other, to listen, to try again. Their story wasn't perfect, but it was real, and that was enough.